What's going on, Junkie Nation? Look who the cat drug in, all the way from Manchester, England, a fighter that we've been following for a long time. What did I say? Huh? Oh, I thought he said something. No. Brendan Loughnane. I thought he said London or something like that.
Nah.
He snuck something in there.
You know where I'm from.
I know. I said Manchester, and he said something. But this is Brendan Loughnane, the 2022 PFL featherweight champion. Look at that lovely belt that he has there. Yep. And, of course, the season starts off on Friday on ESPN on April 1st, which is coming up this week. And Brendan will be defending that title against Marlon Reyes. Well, we're going to discuss that because I have an interesting angle on this. Marlon Reyes is his opponent. All right. For those of you that have followed the show for a long time, you remember in 2008, I got Bell's palsy on my right side of my face. I overcame it, and it was tough. And last Friday, I got it on the left side of my face. So that is why I sound different. And if the camera captures me in a certain way, I look different. I hate the way I look, but I'm going to get through it. I'm going to stay positive. We're going to power through here. But that's the whole deal. I don't have a bunch of marbles or crickets stuck in my mouth. I am just, I got Bell's palsy. So what are you going to do?
Nobody
Brendan.
would have guessed crickets, by the way. I've never.
You got a cricket bet coming up.
Oh, I do. But you know what? I got them right. So Newcastle and Manchester United, if Newcastle loses, if Manchester United loses, they have to eat a live cricket.
Why?
I'm good though, right?
Wait, whoa. Who's making
He
these
bet
bets?
the Bell touring girl, Louise Mackay, that, because she's a Newcastle supporter. And remember I told you the day after your fight on Sunday?
Yeah.
It's Newcastle against Manchester United. The loser has to eat a cricket as a bet.
I think because she's in Thailand and they have a lot of that stuff.
I'll leave that one. Next question.
You're a fighter. You're in Thailand.
sweating.
You never heard of they eat scorpions and spiders over
So
there?
how did it come about that a cricket would get eaten?
I think we were asking her about what kind of things do you eat when you're in Thailand, and she brought a cricket. And then my big mouth said, "Well, I'm so confident that we got this. I'll eat a live cricket."
I think
but really, I just want to see her eat a cricket.
You're safe.
Yeah,
you're safe.
Newcastle's a good side, but I think Manchester United's just on a roll.
With the Red Devils.
Advancing in the FA Cup now. We bagged the Carabao Cup. The Euros are looking nice.
Everything's looking good. Manchester's looking great,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we really, really connected. We cover so many fighters, but Brendan, aside from Manchester United being a supporter, he is just such a lively individual, a really fun guy to interview, man. And you're one of PFL's biggest stars. I hope they realize that, and I hope they can get behind you. I know it's not a title defense. I know it's a fresh season, but you and I were talking before the show started. It feels like it should be like you won it last year. Man, you went through the ringer, but you pulled through, and here we are in a fresh season ready to start. What do you think of that, what I was tossing at you? Do you think, are you in title defense mode, or is it just a fresh season for you?
I mean, I don't know what mode I'm in. It was strange because we were talking off air, but I was already thinking what you were saying. I was like, wait, so is this a title defense? Like, there's the belt. And I'm like, It's almost like you win it, and then
they're going to introduce you as a champion. You'll probably go in second.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? So I like to tell people that
you got to make 145. They didn't say 146, or can you make 146?
I don't know.
Maybe we should find that out.
Maybe
right?
I should clarify.
Yeah, because I just gave him a hug. I was like, God damn, man, these guys are really do shrink up before fights.
We do. I'm like a bag of bones right now. But I mean, like, here's what I tell people, right? So UFC, Bellator 1, you win the belt, you're the champion. You defend that belt once every 6 months, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. Okay, PFL, you're the champion. Okay, April comes around, you better have 4 fights, 7 months again, and if you lose one of them, you're not the champion. So effectively, to be a 2-time champion, you have to win 8 fights. Any other promotion to be a 2-time champion, you win 2 fights. It's a big difference. So respect to Nathan, Lance, Kayla, these people that have done it twice over, because it really is a whole different ball game.
Mm-hmm. You already know when your next fight is too. So your mind is set on this
Don't
weight.
remind me.
Your mind is set on this weight cut, and you know you got to fight on April 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on ESPN. Can't emphasize that enough. Yeah. Huge platform for you guys. Yeah. But at the same time, as soon as it's done, not much time to decompress. We get to watch Manchester United mess up the Magpies, and then it's back into another camp.
It's hard on the brain, especially like the one that got me last year was beating that guy in the second regular season fight. Then 10 minutes after the fight, I'm in a stare down with Chris Wade. And I'm like, fuck, give me a minute to just have a beer and relax. I'm doing stare downs for the next one. And like...
I kind of like stare downs. But
no, I love them. It's great, but give me more than 5 minutes, please. Like,
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, yeah, straight in again. And that is the thing about this tournament, that there's no switching off for a whole year, pretty much. And if you do, you get found out. And this is my 3rd season. And now, I believe... I'm more mature with it. It's my 3rd season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I feel like I've gauged it a lot better this year. I really do, and I feel like I'm a tournament veteran.
Oh, I was gonna say, goes real fast. I know you got some stuff for Brendan. It's so true. As he was talking, he's probably elated, happy, looking for his family and friends. Touching his corner, fist bumps. And then all of a sudden you got to come back down and kind of fake a frown, which I can't do right now. But you got to fake a frown like you're mad and you're ready to fight. But at the same time, I've always liked that.
Can I just say, it wasn't hard for Chris Wade, though. It wasn't hard. I didn't like Chris Wade, so I was like, yeah, he wants to do a stare down, let's go.
How come you don't like Chris Wade?
I just don't like him. Still don't.
You just woke up one day and you don't like Chris Wade?
No, it was real beef. It was real beef. Like,
there's got to be a story.
Yeah, it started like... I mean, are we going over this again? Why not? I remember the first
Did I forget? I'm sorry. Did I forget? Was it something big?
No. It wasn't very big. But, I mean, we had a whole thing about why it started, and he had his version, I had mine. I remember when I first signed, I first seen him and give me this stare down, like, I just walked past him in the hallway, and he looks at me like this. I'm like, the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, real like that. Then he was back and forth on socials. I said a few things, he said a few things. Then we had the whole London thing. And then I beat his ass. That's it.
So, oh my God, where have I been? I love this shit. I can't believe that.
I think you probably just don't remember, but because I think he talked about it with us one time.
Go ahead.
But yeah, look, I mean, we're gonna get to Marlon Rice. It's a great match. We're gonna get there, but I do feel like we need to go back a little bit because we've been a part of your journey this whole way, and we've seen like, man, good things come to those who wait. The road there for you is so unique. When you look at that championship belt, what means more to you, that belt, or when you look at your account and the money that you made from it? What really resonates with you this long journey to this moment?
I mean, there's a couple of ways of looking at this. So, first of all, when you asked me that question on the night, I said the performance was better than them both because I was just so happy to negate Bubba and Bubba's skills and beat him the way that I did and knock him out. Nobody expected that, even myself. So that was the first thing. That was my initial thoughts. Then it was the legacy, Manchester champion, going home, bringing the belt. That was one thing. But then it was also buying a property that I always wanted. So there's the three things. So, I mean, you can't really pick one of them three things. It comes as a package. So for me, it was all big one package, and it was just a great time in my life. But had to put all that to one side and start training again for like hungrier than ever, and have to act like none of it happened and go again.
Well, you know what we can't do anymore? When we watch fights, sometimes we'll watch them with hardcore MMA fans. They know everything. Sometimes we watch them with casuals. What we can't say no more is, see that guy, watch. He's really good. You are no longer under the radar. You are no longer an underdog. You have a target on your back now. Yeah. Do you like that feeling? Is it something you embrace?
Well, when I won it all, I'll be honest, I was like, I'm not doing that tournament again. I was like, no way. Like, I'm not doing it. I told my coach, told my girlfriend, told everybody, like, that's not happening. And then I kind of sat around for a month, like, twiddling my thumbs. I was like, ooh, what now then? And then PFL call up, they're like, hey, you want to do it again? I'm like, fuck no. And then I was like, okay, maybe. Then I go to Thailand, start training. I'm like, you know, this silk sheet thing, is it real? I started training. I was with Jan and Faziev and all these guys. So, listen, if you want to go in there and start having silk sheets, they will kick your ass. So then I started training and I was like, fuck. Then I started beating personal bests on things and then I was like, fuck. Then I found myself hungrier than ever. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this again. I'm really going to do this again. And like, started, I don't know if you've seen that viral thing that I posted with the sweep, and that's something that I've not done in years. I'm pulling out new techniques. I feel like the pressure's off. I feel like I'm more relaxed. I feel like the pressure's completely off. It's right there now, and I can enjoy fighting now.
Well, if you have silk sheets, they're probably in a suitcase, because if anybody knows anything about you, you travel quite a bit. Now, you have actually done one where you just stay at home as well. You've tried both. So I guess my question to you is, what is the correct recipe? Which one did you like the most? And could it be that the correct recipe is not having a recipe?
Yeah. I mean,
they both seem to work for you.
Now that you put it like that, I mean, I did the Wade camp in Manchester and I did the final in Thailand. I guess it's just me. It's inside me. It's not where you do your camp, who's your trainer, what nutrition did you have, is your strength and conditioning coach. No, listen, I'm a fighter. You could put me in this room and I would train in this room for 6 weeks with no equipment and I would still be the same Brendan. Like, so people put too much emphasis on camps and trainers. It's just your work ethic, man. Don't matter where you are, just get your nose to the ground and work hard, and that's it.
If you guys ever get hungry, there's some chips on my shoulder at all time. I always have a chip on my shoulder. Did you have any sort of chip on your shoulder, and was there anybody that you picked up the phone when you got this belt and kind of gave an I told you to, that told you so to, even if it was somebody going back to your childhood, a teacher that said, you can't be doing mixed martial, anybody that you kind of said, look, I did it. I told you so.
Another good question, but it's funny that I actually envisioned for a long time doing the Instagram post with the belt. I couldn't wait to put that post up because the amount of disappointment that I'd been putting online for all the years, the Duquesnoy loss, the Pat Healy loss, the ones that I didn't lose and I had to say, hey, I lost this, the Dana White Contender Series, hey, I didn't get the contract, and to finally go, hey, I'm a champion, hey, there's the check. To finally do that post, I remember writing it. I was in the after party and I wrote it like 4 times and I was envisioning it and I was putting the post and I just remember writing it and it was, you know, when you press post and that moment there, I don't know, it was strange, but that moment there was great because it's like the whole world then woke up to, you know, people that don't follow MMA and didn't watch the fight but had me on Instagram or had me on Facebook and have known me my whole life and they're like, fuck yeah, he did it. And that was a good feeling.
Were you tagging people on the post, or was it a general post?
Just a general picture of me, picture of the blood, picture of the belt, picture of the check. And there was a pretty iconic photo of me on my hands and knees, just on the floor, like just overwhelmed with emotion. Yeah, it was great. It was that was probably my highlight.
Yeah. So now you're in this situation. I started thinking a little bit. We've talked about you and your accomplishment. What do you think PFL in general, I don't know if we can call it graduating class, right? Your class of champions going into this season. How do you think you guys stack up compared to maybe past seasons? You got Rob Wilkinson, right? He's a beast. There's a lot of new faces at the top.
Me, Movlead, Marlon, Bubba, Wade. I mean, wow. High level fighters.
But I think he's comparing you to the champions, the other champions.
No.
Oh,
His class.
division?
Like you're at the end of the year when you go, who were the season's champions? How do you think you guys stack up against like some of the other years, the names that we talked about?
The most stacked.
Yeah.
It was last year. This year, I mean, I think they only signed 2 guys, and I don't. One of them's a KSW champion. I'm not sure who the other guy is. So, and Marlon. Sorry, I would have been happy if they got a few more, to be honest, because I don't want to have a season of rematches. I really don't, because I beat Kudo, I beat Wade, I beat Bubba, I beat Shaman. Like, you know, I don't really want to do that. So I'd like to fight the newer guys. And this year I want name value. I don't want to fight unknown guys with no following, but they're dangerous. I'd rather have guys like Marlon, who everybody knows, and like, oh shit, he's fighting Marlon, rather than random guys. So I'm glad they've got Marlon, and obviously we all know there's no secret. I want to fight Movlead again, and I want to beat him over 5 rounds for the belt this year, and hopefully do it in Manchester. Why not?
Nice. Now,
Is there talk about that?
No, I'm just putting it out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's good. It's good to do that.
There aren't a lot of people that could say they've done what you've done and taken the road that you've taken, right? So that being said, with everything that you've done, has there been like another champion or somebody that's gone through this that you've kind of shared a moment with, that you have a connection with, that you've sat down and talked about just how grueling it is, man, to get to where you are?
I mean, there's not many other champions that could say that they went through what I went through to get the belt. There's really not. Like, every one of them 4 fights last year, I was injured pretty badly as well, and like had to push through them, because if you miss a date, you're out. Like, if you're a champion and you have an injury, you just phone up whatever organisation, say, can you push it back 2 months? This has happened. Whereas if I phone up PFL, you're out the tournament. So, like, to get this belt, people have no idea, and I really like that PFL's growing now, and they're signing all these people from other organisations so they can all realise. I mean, you speak to Pettis, sit Pettis down, sit Rory down, sit Kayla down, sit these big names down, they'll tell you, Rory, it's the hardest thing they've ever done in their life, because all these turnaround times, cutting 20 pounds in and out every 6 weeks, you know, the mind, the stare downs. It's just this whole crazy entity. And I've lost a lot of sleep. I've got a few more grey hairs, but I'm here again. Let's go.
That's great, man. And, you know, part of that journey was, especially for a guy that's so scrappy like you, that loves to throw hands, put on a show, going through those wrestlers, man. You know, those guys are some tough dudes, and you were able to get in there and match them mentally, because we all know wrestlers are mentally tough. You prove that, you know, you could wrestle, whether it's stopping a takedown or even initiating, you know, the contact. Can you talk about getting over that mental edge? Because I'm sure a lot of people labeled you like that. Even going back to Pat Healy, you know, Pat Healy was that type of grinder.
Yeah, he was.
Like, and there's a lot of grinders. Lance isn't in there this year, but he was in there for a while. Mohlid, of course, and Wade and Bubba are wrestlers. Can you talk about the mental aspect of wrestling and being able to answer for it and getting to the top, you know, and proving all those naysayers wrong?
Well, first of all, it was Chris Wade who beat Bubba and give Islam Makhachev probably his toughest fight in the UFC apart from Alex. Give him a hell of a fight, Wade. And I was like, watching all these fights of Wade thinking, fuck, he's a great wrestler. Chris Wade did not take me down one time. Bubba Jenkins did not take me down one time in the whole fight. And their sole game plan was to wrestle Brendan, and none of them could do it. It just shows how I've elevated as a fighter. I have been fighting wrestlers now since I was 16 years old. Nobody wants to stand with me. Everybody wants to wrestle me. So all I do is wrestle, take down defense. And I was so happy this year that I was like, yeah, bring the wrestlers on. Everyone's like, but Bubba Jenkins, he's an NCAA champion. He beat Jordan Burroughs. He's this, he's that. I said, I don't care. And I was even like, my wrestling coach at the time, we're doing lots of get-ups. I said, let's stop doing get-ups because he ain't going to get me down to get me up. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, but bro, he's done this. I was like, I don't care. And I went out there and I proved it.
It was awesome to see that. That said, Marlon Moraes is a really great striker.
Yep.
And so are you. Now that you've put the work in, and I'm sure Marlon has too, you guys are mixed martial artists, you're well-rounded. But is there something to be said for, hey, you know what? Because you've never been knocked out. Mm-hmm. And you can stand there, you know, and trade. I get that. But is there something like what John Jones did a few weeks ago? I'm not going to stand with Gon initially. Then we put it in his head that I can take it to the ground. I got the wrestling. Oh, what do you know? Next thing you know, I'm dominating him. I'm out of the fight. I'm injury-free. I'm out of here. Could you maybe do something like that and mix things up and decide to be a wrestler against a guy that strikes?
I mean, I'd like to say no, but who knows? I mean, I'm a mixed martial artist, and last season, when I fought Kudo in the first fight, I came out, he started throwing fast hands. I took him down 7 times, I think, in the fight. I was like, okay, you're too fast. You're going to the floor. Mm-hmm. So if I want to switch it up, I will switch it up. I go Usyk, took him down 4 or 5 times in the second fight. Then I went to Bubba and Wade. No takedowns, was just punching the hell out of him. So I'm a very, very well-rounded, smart mixed martial artist, and wherever it needs to go, it will go.
And then I want to revisit some stuff that Go said. Thailand, I think Manchester. I think one time we were interviewing you and Dominic Cruz was in the car, so you've been to San Diego. Maybe, and I think I remember Arizona, but I'm not sure on that one.
I've been there too.
Yeah. Now that the UK has found all this success, you know, we'll give some shout-outs to Leon Edwards, and I just saw MVP get a win. What about just huddling back in the UK? You know, have you thought about that? Or is there something about leaving everyone and being on a different time zone or, you know, 12, 14-hour time zones away and isolating?
Okay, so there's a couple of ways of looking at that. I've tried everything. I really have. I've done the camps at home, the camps away. So what I've found is when I'm away and I'm in Thailand or San Diego or wherever, and I'm on my own and I'm in a room, people can't ring you for bullshit like, do you want to go for dinner tonight? And you don't have to let anybody down. And like, now that I've won the belt, I've got so many new friends in Manchester and everybody wants to be my friend. So it's like, I don't want to get comfortable. So I like disappear and I go into my own shell and I get a little small ass room in Thailand and I'm just back and forth the gym every day. I'm on my moped, one session, second session. Whereas you got to take into account Manchester traffic, 45 minutes to one gym, 45 minutes to another gym, sat there, tired, meal preps, or like, logistically, and in order to get the best out of myself, I like to be a stone throw away from the gym, and I can just go in and out of that gym 2 to 3 times a day. Nobody can call me for anything, and I'm just focused on the task at hand. And that's the reason, mostly the reason that I go away.
Is it mostly because you don't want to have dinner with friends because it pulls you away, or you don't want to pay for the dinner? So now
we got me on both.
Okay.
But no. Like,
I see what you're saying though, and then we correlate this to soccer. Sorry, football. You know, all these guys that play for our team, United, but even other teams, they come in, they do their thing. Sometimes they have kids, raise them through, you know, teenagers. But eventually, a lot of them will go back to their home countries where they started, like a Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, I eventually think he'll probably move back to Portugal when it's all said and done. In where's he at now? In Dubai, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, Lionel Messi will probably go back to Argentina. Yeah. Do you see it the same way? Right now, you're on a career path. You're doing what it takes, but it doesn't mean that Manchester's not home, and that eventually you won't be back.
Listen, I'm an out-and-out proud Mancunian. That is my home. That is my heart. That is the city that made me. That is the country that made me, and I represent them to the day that I die. But for right now, this second, I need to be in total isolation.
I like it, man. I like hearing that.
I need to just
no distractions, or at least no one can give you shit. You know, like, come on, man. You know, Thursday's poker night, or we go to the movies, or it's your uncle's birthday. Hey, I love my uncle, but I'm in Thailand. You know, I just can't make it.
It's not even an option to make it. It's not even like you're letting people down.
Table.
Like, one of my best friends got married last season, mid-season, and I was like, sorry, bro. And that one hurt me. I'm missing all this shit. Like, I am putting everything on hold my whole life for this. And the reason I do it is because fighting is so hard that you need to be all the way in or all the way out. Like, these guys that dip it in, have 3 kids at home, and no disrespect, but, you know, I'll miss that practice. That one's an hour away. The traffic's too much today. And life starts getting in the way. Like, this is a short little window. I'm 33 now. Maybe I've got 3 years left, maybe. If I do, I want to maximise them 3 years, and I don't want to sit in the bar at 50 and go, could have done more.
Hey, I said soccer and switched to football, so you got to stick with pub. Don't switch the bar to us.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And by the way, UK people, why do you guys pronounce everything that's supposed to be with a TH with an F? I'm struggling with fucking F's over here, and they say instead of 3, they say free.
Some
What's with
regions,
that deal?
Yeah, some regions do that.
What's with that deal?
You got me on that one.
Is that just like in the latest last 20 years? It's just something different?
We just cut corners, don't we? 3.
Yeah. 3. Do you say 3 anymore? Do you say free?
Free.
He says free, yeah.
No, if I'm with my Manchester people, I say free.
It's just a slang? It turns into F?
Fast. Like, if someone else from Manchester was here now, you wouldn't understand our word.
Yeah. Oh, no, well, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't. But I watched Top Boy and Summer House, so I know a few things.
That's London. Forget London.
Hey, be honest. You weren't that heartbroken about the wedding, right? Weddings are terrible.
I was.
I hate weddings, man.
No, I was, because this guy in particular, I'll give him a shout out. I want to give it a little clip for this, Alex Lee. He's been to all my fights, and he's really gone out of his way. Like, I'll give you an example of what he did, right? After the Dana White Contender Series, like, I was down, and then he flew out there, and you only get like 6 people that can come. He was one of them. And then he was like, and then he told my coach, hey, tell him to come to the club. I've got a big surprise. And then I was like, I'm not going no club. And then my coach was like, no, like, you need to go. I walked in, this guy had spent, I'm not even going to tell you the amount, but a lot of money. I walked in, they had the Union Jacks. My face was all round Omnia. And he was like, look.
After the Dana White Contender Series?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, I want to cheer you up. And then I had to miss his wedding. Tough, man. It's tough, guys, you know?
How much was the bill? I'm curious.
26,000.
I love that guy. Alex Lee.
Can you introduce us to him?
Alex Lee?
Alex Lee.
I love that guy.
What a guy, eh?
Yeah. Jeez. Did he hurt? Was he hurt about the wedding thing? Or did he understand?
Oh, no. He understood, but I kind
of
of
makes him even a grander person in my book.
Yeah, I was kind of
leading. Because he could have played that card on you like, bitch, I flew down to cheer your ass up. Get your ass to my wedding. But he didn't play that card at all.
He understands. He's watched me from 15, 16.
That's a top boy.
Yeah. Grind it out, and I was like, fuck, bro. And I know how much this wedding meant to me. I was at the stag do. So
that's even more important.
I was at the stag do, so it let me off with the wedding.
Someone told you guys spent 26 grand that night too.
Yeah. Wow. No, that was a good one. 52 of us went to Dubai.
Wow. 52.
That's the main event. The wedding
gangster
was the
there.
It was wild.
Yeah.
So
hey, so let me ask you a little bit about Marlon Moraes and the situation. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't have expected, like you and we brought up Wilkinson. You guys have tough fights right out the get go, right out the shoot, and they're against former UFC fighters, right? You said you want names, you want to prove to that casual fan that, hey, PFL has some tough fighters here. Were you a little surprised that you got Marlon in the first fight?
not really. No, I mean they're probably paying him a lot of money, so they want to get the value out of Marlon too, right?
You like the fact that it was like that right out of the get
Yeah,
go?
yeah. I mean, wow. Why would I want to, like, let's say the other random guy that they signed, I think he's from Peru or something. Okay, so it's like,
Hey, take it easy. Our mom's from Peru.
no. But what I'm saying is,
He was making it sound like a tomato can from Peru. or something.
nobody don't know him. Like he might be the
I know.
best fighter that ever lived.
I'm totally
for all we
busting
know.
balls. It
You
was
know
just
what I mean?
so funny and so what's the word? Not iconic, but
Ironic?
ironic. There you
There
go.
you go. Yeah.
So Peru,
Yeah.
and I don't know him, but you guys will probably know him. And I'm like, oh, okay, but imagine you get this guy, and then everyone in the UK tuning in, and they're like, oh, who's this guy? No one really does it. But then they go, oh, Marlon. Everyone knows he's the guy
Yeah,
that
that's a
knocked
good
out
point.
Sterling. He's the guy that beat Aldo not too long ago. You know, he's been on a bit of a skid, but he was beating Shaman
And to
comfortably.
be fair,
Yeah.
he was actually a champion in your organization when it was
Exactly.
WSOF too. So yeah.
So, you know, everyone's going to tune in to watch Brendan and Marlon, two strikers going at it. You got the aggressive guy, you got the thinker, you've got the 45er, you got the 35er that's coming up that's not depleting himself no more. So, you know, this is one that the fans win on.
Do you think you'll see him twice this year? Or is there a fighter that you think you'll see twice this year?
I mean, do you mean from other seasons or twice in the season?
Twice in the season, you know,
In the same
and
season. That's
playoffs.
not happened to me before yet. But who knows why? Like,
Yeah, because I think what Goes is saying, now that I thought about it, is that would have been a great final too. When you look at the names, when PFL releases the names,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'd love to see those guys in the final.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is something for opening night too.
Yeah.
two
It's a
good
tough one
fighters,
because it's
man.
like, do you want to risk it and maybe I don't make it, maybe he don't make it, and then you miss that fight, or do you do it off the bat and then you get the season opener and everybody's in, but then you might not get one of them in the final. But then
You know,
they put
Lance Palmer once fought one guy 3 times in one season.
Yeah.
Bubba and Wade together
That's
first.
too much, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Do you think we've often talked to people from PFL and they say, look, people told me what it was going to be like, but I had to experience it first to really understand. You know, now we're a few seasons in. I think people have been able to learn from mistakes of others. But do you think it's still, no matter what, something you have to go through to understand?
Yeah. I can't sit here and ever put into words how hard this thing actually is. Like, you imagine, like, for the most of my career, it's been have a fight every 3 to 6 months, and then, you know, you get a bit of time off, enjoy friends, family time, relax, start training slowly again, start preparing for the next one, get a bit fat, enjoy life in between. No. This is start to finish camp. I can't explain, like, how hard it is, and I can't believe I'm sat here talking about doing it again, but we're here. And it's like, now I've really gauged on how to work it. And again, I always allude to the fact that it is a marathon, not a sprint. You can't blow your load early in these things, because I've seen so many people come out hard and just fade as the season goes on. I was the opposite last year. Started off slow, built up. Then when we got to the semis and the final was my best performances. But now I really know how to gauge this, and what a fight to get off the bat with Marlon Moraes on ESPN. Can't wait.
I can't wait either. It's going to be a great fight. I think you guys have proven yourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
All your fights are dynamic,
Yeah.
no matter what. So this is a great pairing. All right, just a couple more things here. Now, I don't want to be Debbie Downer or anything, but when fighters are in a camp and they've had some success, we always talk about momentum, right? Peter Yan, Rafael Fiziev,
Yep.
they just experienced a couple of losses.
Yep.
Does that weigh on you, or not you? Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, is it the opposite, I guess? Is the momentum and gym's hot? Maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't ask this if, like, it happened years ago or something, but they actually just recently happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at Rafa's was very close anyway. So that's one thing. And then Peter's Peter's battling right now. And it's like nobody was talking about when everybody was winning. Me, Rafa, Peter, all last year, all just beating people. And then like nobody was like, oh, that gym's hot. So listen, this is MMA. It swings in roundabouts. We're all at the highest level. We've all got tough fights. And sometimes they go your way, sometimes they don't. So, I've been in this game long enough to understand that now.
You get a lot of rounds in with those guys?
Yeah. I mean, not so much Rafa this time. Peter, I train with a lot. And there's so many guys under the radar that you don't even know about that are coming through that gym right now. It's terrifying.
I like your top. I wish I was that thin that I could rock something like that. But at the same time, does anyone think you're training for the Tour de France as well?
You know what it is, guys? I like to be stylish, I like to give the sponsor some love to keep the...
It's nice. Good color. I like that color.
Thank you. Montreal, shout out. Oh, they'll love that clip.
Speaking of the Tour de France, I never thought I'd ever say that, but outside of MMA, is there anything that can ever match that feeling you get when you're walking out to the cage and all that? Have you skydove or have you ever done anything that comes close to it? Walking through the tunnel at Old Trafford, do you think there's anything that can match that?
Skydive, I've done that too. That was terrifying.
Was it?
Yeah, that was terrifying.
Were you a screamer? Or?
What was the worst part?
When the fucking plane door opens when you're like...
Let's take it. You said you're good on time, right?
Yeah.
When it was the day, you weren't backing out.
So I'm going to tell you this story.
When you get in the van, when you're there, when they outfit you, tell us the parts where you're like, oh God, what
this is a pretty crazy story, this one, so buckle in for this. So I was in Dubai, and I was just there training. One of my friends came out, a good friend of mine, and he was out on vacation, and two of them came, and I came in from training one day, and the other one was feeling sick, and he was like, I can't do it, but I've already paid the deposit. It was like a Wednesday afternoon, and the other one was like, we're going, but it was on his bucket list. He was sick. And he was like, this is what I want to do. So I was like, okay, well, if you want to do it, then I've always wanted to do it too. Let's go. It's a crazy story. No one even knows this. This is his first time. So, and then he did the skydive. We did it together.
Was it Alex Lee?
No, It was a different guy. And he actually died the day of my fight, this guy.
What?
God damn.
The day of my fight. And I did his bucket list thing with him.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy. He actually...
That's chilling.
He had cancer, and he was all the way on his hospital bed. He didn't get to know the result. He was like, did he win? And then, unfortunately, he left us before.
Really? Your title fight? Or
yeah.
No? Oh, wow.
How crazy, right?
Wow, man.
Wild.
And how far before that fight did you do the skydive?
The skydive was about a year and a half prior.
Wow, and he knocked it off his list.
Yeah.
And even though he was sick, how was his experience? What was he telling you? What were you guys talking about?
He was battling cancer for a while, though. He was battling it. He'd overcome it. Then he got it again. And then he got it real bad, maybe a month before the fight. And then he actually died the day of the fight. And then, crazy story. I've just won the title. Nobody's told me. I was in the after party. And then I was in my hotel room after it. And I was scrolling through Instagram. And then I seen it. An RIP post, and I turned to my friend, and he was like, "Oh, we couldn't tell you before the fight. We're sorry." I was like, "What the fuck?" So yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
So not to pry too much. You don't have to answer if you don't. People react differently to those type of things, right? What do you think would have gone through your head if they would have told you? Would you almost maybe could have pulled even more inspiration to win it for him, or do you think it would have maybe kept you down?
I'm glad I didn't know until I knew.
Yeah.
Because, like, the last thing you need going into $1 million fight is any more added stress, pressure, you know. And I remember when I seen it, and I turned to everybody in the room, and everybody in the room knew apart from me. And I seen it on Instagram, and I was like, what the fuck? And then when everyone said we couldn't tell you, I was like, I understand. And yeah, I went to the funeral, all good. This is part of life, and he's moved on to a better place now. He's out of pain, so, better for everyone.
And not to disrespect the story, but moving back to the skydive, what was that experience like?
So it was me and him, and then we went on this whole thing, and then they do they tell you about how it's going to go, and you do this whole instruction.
Are you nervous at that point?
No.
Okay,
not
so you're good.
But don't forget, I did this off a cuff. I wasn't planning on this. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I'm finished training. I've come in, and they're like, yo.
There wasn't like a date on the
No
calendar.
plan. There was
30
no
days
plan.
Oh, wow.
It was just like, I come in from training and we're like, we're going. I'm like, okay. We got there. And like, there was, I think, 3 other people that are doing it in the same thing that we didn't know. We're going up in the plane, everybody's jubilant, hey, skydiving. And it gets higher and higher. It starts going quieter and quieter. Then it gets...
Is the door open?
Not yet.
Okay.
Then it gets really high. But you can see out the window, buildings are like this and then they disappear. And then all you can see is clouds and you're like, fuck. And then...
and you're attached to someone, right?
Yeah, he's behind me. And then the door opens up. It's all loud. And you're like, oh my, am I really going to jump out
Were
of
you
that?
thinking of chickening out at any point? Or you
It's
just
too
knew
late.
it was happening?
It's too late. It's
Okay.
too late. And then the guy's attached to you back. You like shuffle to the door. And then it's pretty funny because they throw you out on 2 because they say if you do 1, 2, 3, people grab the door. So he goes 1 and throws you out on 2. And then you're down.
Did that go to your head? Hey, that was 2. As you're going
No,
down?
he told me at the end. That's what they did. I understood it. But yeah, I had amazing experience. Would I do it again? Probably not. But I'm glad it's off the list. Yes.
Nice. That's a great story. You know, our buddy Steve Straub, he jumped out at 50 and he passed away, I guess, not too much after that. And I remember I gave him some crap. I'm like, come on, we're 50 years old, man. Enough of this. It's something I wanted to do, you know. And now that I think about it, I'm glad he did it. Fuck it. You know, he
Once
passed
is good
away.
enough, though, right? Once is good enough, right?
Yeah, no, once is
Yeah, unless you're going to reach the point where you're going to do it on your own,
Yeah,
but you have to have a certain amount of dives.
No.
I think once is enough to just, you know, scratch that itch.
Let me ask you both a question, though. If they go, look, parachutes, you know, obviously they're not 100%, but we have one that's 100%, the Liverpool one. Do you take that one or you stick with the one that...
You know what? I've become more fond of the Scousers. I've been hanging around with Darren Till and the boys a bit more, so up the Scousers.
They're the enemy.
Nah, wait, listen, it's 45 minutes away from my house. We can't call them the enemy when you live that close, right?
The team's the enemy, not
The
Till.
teams are the enemy.
Yeah, but the team, like, do you see what they did? Or do they have internet in Thailand? 7-0. That's an ass one. We got to pay them motherfuckers back.
Yeah.
That was painful.
That was a
bad
brutal
day.
one.
We got to get them back one day.
I just went offline that day.
What's your Manchester United dream?
You know, I'm just not there as much anymore, so I feel like I'm a bit disconnected from Manchester United. I'm actually going home after this one, so I'll make sure I get back in the ground and get amongst it again because there's no energy like a Manchester United game. There's really not.
Have you ever been to Carrington?
Never
training
been to,
complex?
No, never been there. No.
Okay.
Old Trafford, a lot. I was lucky enough, obviously, I know Jesse and Marcus, so I always end up with the family in the box, so it's always a great experience. It's food, it's drinks, you can go in and out the box.
You know Marcus, too. I knew you knew Jesse Lingard, but you know Marcus
I know
Rashford?
Marcus, yeah. I know his
Oh,
brothers,
right.
we all grew up together, great fella. And so we get the VIP, you know, you get the... Just out on the balcony to get the atmosphere, then back in, shut the doors, and you get your food, your drink, sit down, have your dinner, back out. It's
Really?
Great. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
It is awesome.
And Marcus is having a great season. I think it's like 25 or 27 goals.
Amazing. Yeah.
He is. He's
Yeah.
pulled it all back together.
Yeah, and Jesse, I'm sorry, but is he at, where's he at now?
Forest.
Forest?
Yep.
Oh, okay. He was at West Ham for a year, came back,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then now he's, all right. That's great, man.
Yeah,
'Cause
man.
You used to play and you used to
Yeah.
live nearby, right?
Yeah, correct.
Where did you buy your property?
Which one? The one that I just told you about?
Yeah.
Dubai.
Oh, it's in Dubai?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I went there during COVID for that stag do that we were talking about, and then just ended up loving it there. And I was like, oh, I really like it. I could see myself living there. So I bought something there, rented it out. So, you know, even if I don't decide to live there, it's still a good investment. And I still think that.
Oh, they keep it occupied. If
Yeah,
you're
it's
out there.
occupied. Funnily enough, my friend was there anyway, and he went, I'll just take it off you. I was like, great. So I literally got the keys, give it him, and I was out of there.
And he makes the payments.
Yeah.
On your place.
All went perfect.
Wow.
Yeah,
I forgot
kept it
about
in-house.
Not to say I forgot about COVID, but your road to this, man, it couldn't have been any harder, right? Like the obstacles that were thrown your way. I forgot you had to do a lot of that through COVID.
No, I feel bulletproof now. I feel but like 17-day quarantines we had to do. It was wild. Then they told me I couldn't
The
go
one in New
home.
Jersey, right? Or there was a couple that were really bad, man.
I couldn't go home for a year. They said once you enter the United States, you can't leave because you might not get back in due to COVID. So I had to I was training in Vegas for a bit, San Diego, like moving around the States trying to find gyms to train at because I couldn't go home. And that's kind of how I ended up staying away from home after that, because it was like, well, I just did a year away anyway. Not off my own bat, I just wasn't allowed. It was wild.
How do you think you would do against Patricio Pitbull Frady from Bellator?
Not watched too many of his fights, but these are the guys that I want to be fighting before it's all said and done. I really do. I really want to cement my legacy as one of the best 145ers.
How do you think you would do against Alex Volkanovski?
Alex is a friend of mine. We share a wrestling coach. You know, Alex is a great guy. I just think that me, him, Patricio, and I think he's called Tankai, the 1FC champion, I just know that we're the elite of the elite, and then them four would be great fights.
Yeah, definitely. The lighter weight classes across many divisions are really outstanding. I was giving the bantamweight some love the other day because the bantamweight division is one of my favorite divisions, maybe even my favorite division, sorry. But they got so much history. I mean, look, Aldo kind of retired recently. He used to be a featherweight. Cruz is kind of chugging along towards the end. Dillashaw, I don't know, whatever. But I love the fact that Bellator, their Grand Prix, had some great bantamweights, you know, and the two finalists, Patchy Mix and Rafion Stotts are solid. Sergio Pettis awaits the winner. Although I don't know if you heard, Sergio Pettis is fighting Patricio Frady. Frady's going to drop 35 now.
Oof.
Yeah, he's going to try to become a triple champ.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's big.
So now that would be the first time
I want
ever,
you
right?
guys, all the lighter weight classes, I want all you guys to get paid, man, because in boxing, for a long time, heavyweights made the money. Respectfully, man. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Ernie Shavers, Ken Norton. List goes on and on. They passed it on to Larry Holmes. And then in the 80s, we had the Four Kings, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, and they elevated lower weight classes, 147. That's what welterweight is in boxing. They passed the mantle on to Julio Cesar Chavez, Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao. You know, man, lighter weight class fighters are exciting, you know, and they make a lot of bread. Canelo as well. You know, and I hope MMA, that also starts to become the norm, because I've seen the blueprint in boxing, and I think you guys deserve that coin.
I agree, and I think, you know, I can't complain about the pay, obviously. Like, my last payday was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Changed my whole life.
Well, you saw what Pettis made along the way, even though he didn't make it to your $1 million.
True.
You know, if they got it, the fighters deserve it. But I won't ever really put my boot on PFL's neck, because they've proven to me that if they have money, they share it.
Exactly.
So far, so good there.
So far, so good.
But we always want to push for that. All right, last one from me.
Yep.
Can you share a good street fight story?
Well, I worked on security in Manchester for like 3 years.
Or at a club?
Yeah, and you can imagine, everybody used to look at me, I was like 18, and be like, what the fuck is he going to do? Like, why is he stood on this door? So I was pretty active, and definitely had a lot more fights than I should have. But any standouts? I mean, there was this one time, this is a good one, I just started on this strip club, right? And this guy's come over.
You're bouncing at a strip club? Okay.
Yeah. And I was with this older guy. And this older guy, like, kind of was even looking at me like, like, you sent this guy, it's really, right? Then this guy comes up to the door, big, full of steroids, whatever else he was on, and he was like, trying to get in. This guy was stopping him. I was stood behind him. And this guy goes...
Why didn't you guys want him in?
He didn't want him in for what? He was too drunk.
Okay.
He was full of whatever he was full of. And I was like, yeah. And then the guy's like, you're not coming in. And he turns to me and he's like, what's he doing stood here? And he was like, has your dad got you a job?
Oh, man.
I was like...
That's what the muscle guy said.
Yeah.
What's he doing here? Has your dad gotten you a job?
Yeah. So I'm like, whatever. So then the guy turns to me, he's like, well, why don't you fight him then? And then I was like, he said it to him, why don't you fight him?
That guy was no Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. Be nice, avoid problems.
No.
This guy wanted action.
He wanted to test me. So I was like, he said to him, why don't you fight him? And he went, okay, no problem, because he's 3 times the size of it. And I went, okay, no problem. So
are we talking like, who did he look like? Francis Ngannou? Or a little shorter?
No, a little shorter, a bit wide. Well, very wide, a lot wider than me. Probably weighed, 1
Yoel Romero, something like that, maybe?
No. But you could tell he's been on the sauce, this fella.
Got it, okay.
So anyway, he goes, right, it's my first night on this strip club. I'm like, oh my God. Right, okay, we're in. So there's this alleyway across the street. He's like, right, down there. So we go down. I'm talking all the strippers come out of the club. The owner of the club comes out. Everybody comes to watch this fight. I'm like, what the fuck? So anyway, I start fighting with this guy. Right?
What was your skill level then? You were just from the streets, or had you already been doing?
I'm doing MMA, but I was wrestling quite a lot of the time, funnily enough. And I remember like, we're scrapping, and he's got me in like a schoolboy headlock. But as he's got me in a schoolboy headlock, I've gone round his waist and lifted him right over my head.
The suplex?
Boom, onto his head.
On the cement.
And I was like,
oh God.
Yeah. I was like, oh. And
was
everybody was
right?
kind of like, ooh. Even I was like, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to do that. But my hands were all bloody and shit. Got back to the doors. The owner came out, gave me 2 buckets of ice. I've got my ice in it. And then the police came. I was like, they like came over. This guy's still unconscious behind the thing, or like his friends are helping him up, and they're like, hey, was that you? And then I was like, well, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then crazy story, they go, thank God you did it, so we didn't have to. They were like, he's been causing trouble around town all night. We've been following him on the cameras. I just left it like that.
CCTV, yeah.
And I was just like,
wow.
Dodged some bullets there. And in the end, was he okay?
Who knows?
Or is
he got up and stumbled off. Wow. That's how much I know.
Well, hopefully you checked that motherfucker, you know? I love bully stories, and that's what it sounded like a little bit. But it was a suplex that got him. He was out on the actual...
He was headlocking me real hard like that, and I just got round the waist, and then boom.
Wow.
And it was like,
you didn't have to get up and cover and get the 3 count.
No, it was like, at that point, it was done.
Wow.
But it's like, okay, well...
Were any strippers going like this? Hey.
After, yeah, I got a few strippers after that one.
Okay. Right? I imagine.
No, I was the king after that.
What did the guy that set you up say? I hope he took his hat.
He was just like, this motherfucker is dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Do you still know anybody? Like, I would hope that guy that was the big dude that said, hey, why don't you go fight him, is your biggest fan now. I used to work with this guy when I was 18. He was 15 years ago.
You know what was good, right? That I solidified myself, because I was like, I don't want to be fighting it every night. And then once I did that, I proved myself to all these security guys and all these owners that, okay, this motherfucker can fight. You know what I mean? And in England, we don't have guns. We don't have knives, really. Like, it's real hand-on-hand combat. So it's like, okay, this kid, if he needs to fight, he will fight. So then everyone just left me alone, kind of like, still got the odd guy drunk, but he knew, the owner, the guy who started it, knew not to tell me to do it again, because it could be very dangerous if I get involved again.
Was your street status elevated a little bit? Nice.
The whispers went around the streets and shit. I was like, no, this kid is serious.
Gotcha.
So I didn't have to do it again. I didn't want to do it again anyway. You know what I mean?
Outstanding story. Yeah. We've been doing this for almost 16 years. We only reserve it for in-studio guests. Yeah. But we've accumulated at least 500 stories. This is 10. Up there, dude.
Yeah. You like that one?
I love it. Yeah, I love the way it ended and everything. Especially with the cops telling you that you did them a favor.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything final from you for our guest, Brendan Loughnane, who locks up with Marlon Moraes on Saturday on ESPN, April 1st. You got to check it out. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. That's my final plug goes. What do you have for Brendan?
Last one from me. Because of everything you went through to get this first one, can the second one ever top it?
Oh, good question. Let's see. I ain't got the answer for that right now. I'm just focused 6 days, go with Marlon, and then from there we'll see. We'll take it fight by fight this year.
And we'll be watching and covering each and single one of them, because you are an outstanding fighter to watch, to cover. You're a great representative. UK, PFL, featherweights, everything, man. You tick all the boxes. Congrats on all your success.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks. That's Brendan Loughnane.